Hi, welcome to One Eye on the Page. I am Scott. Normally, I am doing a vlog on this evening, and I will be doing a vlog later tonight that will appear in a few days. But one of the books that I will be talking about in my vlog is Holly by Stephen King. And I kind of felt like I needed to do a separate video for it for a few reasons. One, I'm going to expand on it a little bit longer than maybe I feel comfortable with in a vlog. And two, because I did my 5 year battle Stephen King over the past 3 or so months, I kind of wanted to talk about where it would be in that list. Back off, Wash. So I am going to try not to get deep into any spoilers. If I do happen to mention something that I believe I need to keep in here, I will put a spoiler warning in here and tell you where to skip, but I'm going to try to stay mostly away from it. Holly has the main character, Holly Gibney, which we have seen in the Bill Hodges trilogy in the novel The Outsider. She plays a larger role in the trilogy and a little bit more of a side character role. Doesn't appear for a while in The Outsider. And she is also in her own novella, If It Bleeds, in which she is the main character. This is her first time being a main character in a novel. And I previously said in a vlog, I believe, that I believe Holly works better as a side character, a sidekick, not as a main character. I do think that this book shows me that she can exist as a main character. But to get into Holly a little bit, it is July 2021, and the book does mainly take place in July, but does some flashbacks to earlier time frames. It is COVID season, and I will talk about that more later. And Holly is hired by Penny Doll to find her missing daughter or to find out what has happened to her. And Holly investigates that, and we also get to know Rodney and Emily Harris, who are two professors in their 80s. And as this is something that's pretty much on the flap, there are bad guys. They are the antagonists, the evil duo. I will say that I do think that unlike a lot of King's recent work, that as the bad guys, I think they work pretty well. They are not, well, they're 80-year-olds, and they have the liabilities that people of that age have. They're not supernatural creatures, and while they are very intelligent, they're not necessarily formidable foes. But part of them, what makes them a little formidable, is that they don't seem to be formidable foes. I have to say that I went into this book not expecting to like it. And one of the reasons I didn't expect to like it is because I expected, based on some of the things I've seen said, for it to be King expressing a lot of his opinions about Donald Trump and COVID and everything like that, which I don't have a problem with if anybody expresses their political opinions. My only problem would be is if it overtook the book. And according to some of the things I've been seeing, people believe that it does overtake the book. Of course, to be completely fair, a lot of those people saying that are people who were putting up reviews on Amazon and Audible and Goodreads pretty quickly after the book was released, almost as if they hadn't actually finished the book. I'm not claiming that that's not the case. Maybe we have a lot of people who are speed readers, not necessarily gifted at writing reviews, perhaps, but speed readers nonetheless. I will say, if you are concerned that this is a long diatribe about Trump, vaccines, anything of that sort, whether it's because it disagrees with political views or you just don't want to read that, I feel comfortable saying it does not play as big a part as you might think it does. Does it play a part? Yes. It is written August 2021 to June 2022. It is written in the middle of COVID and is written at a time when COVID is prevalent in the novel. I think it plays a sensible amount of the novel. Also, got to remember, Holly's a bit of a hypochondriac herself, so of course she's going to worry about health. There are a few times where maybe it goes on a little too long. That's near the beginning of the novel. And after that, I think it's perfectly fine. I saw somebody said there's like just 50 pages of people arguing about it, and that's quite simply a lie. So to me, that's not a problem. Before I go into the other things I like, I'll go ahead and get some of the things I didn't like. One, and this is something that I didn't particularly notice as much, but when I read somebody pointed it out, it made sense. And I have mentioned it before when it comes to King, is I kind of wish King either hired somebody to go in after him and really look at his use of technology and how characters use technology or talk about technology. Have somebody do that because, as somebody pointed out, he's having somebody print out MapQuest uh, papers, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But the thing that really bothered me is cameras. Now, perhaps a slight spoiler. I don't think it's really pertinent, so I don't think it's a big enough spoiler that you need to worry about it. But the professors have cameras in their house. Holly, being a detective long enough, or an investigator, should at least have thought about cameras, and she doesn't. And that bothers me. And I will have to say, King isn't the only person. I've seen this way too many times, and way too many mystery thrillers of this sort, where people just don't think of cameras, whether that they may be filming them or that they could use them. And that's just one of those things that it doesn't necessarily impact my liking of a book, but it does kind of make me grind my teeth for a little bit. So those were the minor issues I have with the book. I will say, and I will also say that I went into this book expecting it to be a little bit gruesome for reasons that you will discover once you start reading yourself. But I don't feel that it ever does really get gruesome. There's grotesquerie of the imagination, but there's never really any grotesquerie of description. So, if your mind is willing to make something gross you out, then it will. But if you're just going by the words written on the page, I don't feel like it's anything too gross. That's just another thought I had. So, also on the flap, it mentions that Holly's mother has died of COVID. So a lot of the novel is about Holly's relationship with her mother, which, if you have read previous books that Holly has been in, that's been a huge part of her background. And Penny Doll and her daughter Donnie are kind of a little bit of a mirror image of Holly and Charlotte, and it touches on the mother daughter relationship, family relationships, and also touches on grief because I notice one thing here, and I speak as somebody who my mother died in 2018, and I had uh, passings in the last few years also. How, and I don't know if King intended this, but how people react to somebody who is grieving. And even though people speak from a place of love or comfort or in some aspects politeness, that words become empty. Yeah, that just kind of stuck with me. It's not something that King really makes a big deal about, but you see the repetitious stuff. And I'm sorry, I have to go back real quick. Another thing that bothered me, and it bothers me about a lot of King's work. Sometimes it works great, but often it bothers me is the uh, I'm blanking on the term for it when he lets you know something bad's gonna happen. Like in Pet Cemetery, in one that I think worked really well when it talked about Gage Creed's last day. So you knew it was his last day. So when you're reading it, it worked. And I'm not saying it didn't work here, but it just becomes one of those things that King does. It's just like, you do that all the time, man. It's like if he mentioned a blue chambray shirt, it's just one of the things like, oh, that's King. So that bothered me, and I just smoothly moved away from grief there. A bit about writing in here. Barbara Robinson, Jerome's Jerome's sister, is writing. I won't get too much into it because part of it has to do with the plot of the book. Jerome, as we know in the last Holly outing, is writing too. Jerome is in the novel, and he actually has my favorite scene in the novel. And it's a scene that King actually mentions at the in the afterword. But Jerome is not as big a part of this novel as I might have expected him to be, but he still does play a fairly decent part. He doesn't disappear. Pete also doesn't play a huge part. He has COVID. um, and I also have to say, and I'm saying this to you as a straight white man, this is probably, again, from my point of view, the best that King has written black characters. Uh, with Jerome, but more so with Barbara. I will point out that Jerome does not use the Pickaninny voice at all, which, thank goodness, it's a horrible decision from King in the Bill Hodges trilogy to do that. And King also has two queer characters in here who are not defined by their queerness. Now, I will say that their queerness defines them for another character in here, and honestly, that person's reaction to both race and sexuality, it kind of had my eyes rolling a bit. But I will say that the actual characters themselves Probably, again, some of the best handling of King for queer characters. And I think the big thing is that unlike in the past, King hasn't made being queer their personality. And for that, I'm kind of thinking like Adrian Mellon from It. Now, he has done pretty good in the past. I'm thinking also of A Very Tight Place, which was as a gay protagonist in it. That didn't necessarily define him either. So I think he has improved with people of color and LGBTQ characters. And quite honestly, not that I think he hasn't already done some improving already, but also with women. When I did my 5 year battle Stephen King for the years 2019 through 2023, I obviously didn't have all Holly on it yet. Um, and this is obviously recency bias. I do think that I would have Holly at number one on that one, just ahead of Fairy Tale. Now, to be fair, not a lot of competition. The Institute is good, but I think I probably have Holly at number one. Now, again, if I come back in 6 months, I might move it down. I'm off a high of it right now. Who knows? But right now, it would be number one. I would give this one 4.5 stars out of five. Just a few minor things that Holly made some decisions that I don't think she should have. That as a somewhat experienced investigator, I don't think she should have. But I also think that she showed a lot of ingenuity in handling herself too. It's a very good book. It doesn't talk about Trump or COVID as much as you may think it does. And it's a fast, good read. Give it a chance. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.